Hello! Much to discuss today. Let's see if the GoPro crashes again. I really thought GoPro crashes were behind me. I don't know why I keep purchasing them. I've had a 6, I've had a 7, I've had several 7s, and now I have this new one, the 360. And I only got it because the only other 360 camera that exists is horrible, and some of my subscribers said it would be really cool to check out, try doing VR 360 video. It actually works pretty well during the day and pretty horrible at night. So it has this thing where it blurs constantly at night. I tried setting the shutter speed higher, so I set it to, this is 30 frames a second, so I set it to 1/60, and it's still blurry. I could set it higher, but again, you're supposed to set the shutter speed, I think, to twice your frame rate, so I don't think there's any benefit to doing that anymore. So there's a few things I figured I would go over in today's video. So there's someone out there who has 1 million subscribers more than Linus that reached out to have a conversation about right to repair. So we're getting there, You know, that whole I word that I try to avoid using because it makes me feel icky. But, you know, I think that we're making some progress here towards being a proper influencer and getting larger content creators with larger audiences that actually do have some level of influence to get people to care about right to repair, which is awesome. So I have to hope, you know, that I'm able to keep that up. So there's a few things I figured I'd go over in this video. One of them is that I remember I got a comment on one of the prior ones where someone said, you know, I'd feel like I was baited and switched if you didn't do a direct ballot campaign just because you didn't raise the necessary funds. And one of the things that I put in that GoFundMe is if I raise what I'm looking to raise, I'll do, or you know, close to it, I'll go for direct ballot, and if I don't, then this would be used to support lobbying initiatives in states. And I do realize that, you know, supporting lobbying initiatives in other states is kind of like, you know, it's like taking your sister to the prom. I get it. Like, I get it. But at the same time, I did state that because I do realize that there is, you know, again, I don't want to be pessimistic on myself. It's just, I'm asking for, what, like $6 million bucks. Like that's a lot of money. So I have a very high ask, and I do have to have a contingency plan if that doesn't work. And one of the things that we've done so far is we've collected enough that in every single state in the country that has a right to repair bill, we can have a professional lobbyist. So right now we are at a point where, you know, there's many different bills in many different states where there's no lobbyist. I don't mean that we got the discount lobbyist. I don't mean that we got the ambulance chasing attorney from The Simpsons as our lobbyist. I mean we have no lobbyists. Like, right to repair is nobody. So there's a line out the door from the boat people, the Samsung people, the Apple people, the John Deere people, the, you know, the car people, all these, you know, all the commerce people and all that. Oh, shut up, mean car. And the thing is that and then there's nobody to speak for us. So right now in many states, we have nobody to speak for us. I think right now the only state where there's a lobbyist that speaks for us is in New York, which is Bruce Geiger, and New York's New York's legislature is probably as screwed up as its Department of Consumer Affairs, if I can be quite honest there. It's a bit of a mess. So it would be great to be able to do that. And I know that it's not the exciting thing, but I don't really think that I'd bait and switch there. But one of the things that you know, many people ask is what costs so much? Why does this cost so much? And this kind of goes hand in hand with what a lot of people suggested that I do in the beginning, which is, why don't you find out who did this for automotive and just do what they did? That's what I did. I called them up. Hi, how'd you do that? Oh, we did this. It cost $25 million, by the way. And we had way less opposition than you're going to have here. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So how much would it cost to do this campaign? About 5 to 20 million, including your YouTube audience, you know, or leveraging that. Oh, and a lot of that is polling, constant back and forth polling, advertising, what in the bill should be there, what shouldn't be there, what arguments do you believe, what arguments do you not believe, which demographics believe which arguments, which demographics are more likely to believe the bullshit that I'm going to install TikTok on your phone or any of that, you know, garbage that the Charlie Browns of the world try to fearmonger people into. Which people are going to believe that, which aren't, which, you know, if an opposition ad lands, you have to figure out which demographic bought it, which didn't, and what arguments would get you to believe the opposite of their propaganda. And that's, you know, it's a fairly expensive process. Now, part of that is polling. I think part of that is polling. So we spoke to one of the polling firms, and they gave us an idea of what initial polling would cost, and oh my god, I'll be honest with you, I feel like a customer. I really do feel like a customer here. I feel I have all these complaints as a business owner about what customers will do to us, and now I'm doing it to them. So they gave us a figure, and they said, you know, we're going to take your material, we're going to turn it into questions, maybe an hour and a half of questions. We're going to find some people for some demographics, offer them maybe $100 to answer the questions. How many people are in there? You know, maybe 10, 20 people or so. All right, so $2,000 there. I'm just doing the math in my head, you know. How long would it take? And they, for like 3 or 4 polls, they gave us a figure for 4 polls and a focus group, or was it 1 poll and 4 focus groups? I also don't remember. It was something like $80,000. $80,000, and oh, that's. You know, Jessa and I are going to be driving to Massachusetts and going like the parking lot of a fucking Walgreens or something. And they, again, like when customers come to me and they say, you just replaced 1 chip, why is it $325? Well, I know what chip to replace. You know, it took me years of work to figure out what chip to replace. I have a $600 microscope. I have a soldering system. I provide a warranty. I pay rent, and I pay employees a living wage in New York City, which is expensive. I hate having to go through that whole process. It's so fucking annoying, and I have to do it on a regular basis. Also, there's the no fix, no fee thing. So there's a lot of times where I spend 6 hours on something and I don't get to make any money because my advertisement is no fix, no fee. I don't fix it, you don't pay me. So then it kind of puts it into perspective why, oh, I'm changing a $5 chip and charging $325. Look at you, you're such an asshole. And I'm doing that to them, but at the same time, it's a poll. I mean, 4 polls in a focus group, or 4 focus groups in a poll. I forget. I know, 80K. 80,000, Jesus Christ. So, and now part of this was to figure out what text in the bill should be there, what text shouldn't be there, what stuff resonates, you know, what arguments resonate with the voters, what arguments don't resonate. For areas of the bill where like, should this be there, should this not be there, or what direction should we take with it? What poll's better among the voters? You know, probably should be, you know, if there's a fork in the road and we're not sure how to go with a certain section of bill text, you know, well, what makes voters feel more comfortable is a big part of that. And what I think would be also, what do you think of this bill? So we just passed this right to repair thing for cars, right? So what do you think of this right to repair for the good thing, a bad thing? What would get you to believe this is a good thing? That's the thing that always kind of freaks me out, is people that look like they're right about to walk in front of the car in New York. It's really weird because driving at 17 miles an hour in Brooklyn makes me more nervous than driving at 70 miles an hour on a highway. It really does. There's always like, just so tight a space, and you always have people like walking in between. You always got to be paying attention. You know, my friend said if you can learn how to drive in New York City, then you'll be able to drive anywhere. However, you cannot drive in other places the way you drive in New York City, because they will, you know, he said if I drive the way that people drive in New York and Knoxville, Tennessee, that they're going to put you in prison, and I believe him. So, and, you know, I can't, so one of the things that we were thinking of doing is figuring out, okay, so how necessary is this? And that's what my customers do to me all the time. You know, I'm going to fix the board myself. And you see on my channel all the time what happens when the customer does that. They destroy the board because they oversimplified it. They thought it was a $5 charging chip. I'm just going to replace the charging chip because it doesn't charge. In reality, it wasn't the charging chip, it was a current sense resistor. And you also send 16 volts to the 3-volt data line on the SMC because you put a solder blob in the ISL 65.9 when you soldered it improperly, and therefore creating a much more difficult repair. And again, you see this over and over again. And like, I feel like I'm being that customer. So what we were thinking of is, all right, what if we, and I wouldn't use the money from the C4 for this. I would use money from another organization, one that has nothing to do with the GoFundMe here. Is, what if we, okay, that's 4 polls in a focus group, or 4 focus groups in 1 poll, I forget. What if we just do 1? So instead of it being 80,000, I don't know, maybe it comes down to, you know, divide by 4, 20,000. Maybe like a trial rate, you know, 10 or 15K. And what I think would be fun is to figure out what the difference is between the poll that's conducted by Jessa and myself, or Jessa, Justin, and myself in a Walgreens parking lot saying, I'll give you $100 if you answer some questions about right to repair, and the poll that's done by the professional, fancy schmancy polling firm. I think that would be interesting, to just compare the results, because that would answer the question in a scientific way. what is the polling firm doing that we are not? Is this something that we can learn how to do ourselves if we don't raise the money? Because that's another question that comes up here. If I don't raise the money, do I just do lobbying in other states? Do I just do lobbying in other states? Or do I go for direct ballot anyway? Because one of the things I keep mentioning is if I go to the ballot and I lose, I fuck right to repair for every state in the United States. No politician is going to touch a bill that lost on ballot, because that means that people don't want it. So if I go for direct ballot and I fail, I not only fail in that state that one time, I fail everybody in the United States, in every state. I fail at ever getting right to repair passed ever. You can fail at the legislature over and over and over just submitting a bill, because you always have an excuse. The people want this, but the damn politicians, they just don't listen to the people. But if you ask the people and they say no, because you get outgunned, because you aren't prepared, then you're just screwed. Because you got to keep in mind, the default for a ballot initiative is always no. People are always going to say no to something that is, if they're not sure of it. You know, do you vote yes on right to whatever? If you don't know what that means, well, no, I don't want to change something. You know, the default when it comes to change, if you don't know what the change is no. Hush, meme car. So one of the things I'm thinking with polling is figure out what value the polling and focus groups and all that are being done at the amount that there's no way in hell I could afford with the amount I've currently raised. Trial it. Sample. Let's see what yours looks like versus ours. Is this something where I'm being a customer, or is this something where no, there's really no reason for this to cost that much, other than the fact that they're just used to dealing with cigar-smoking rich politicians in back rooms that are trying to get reelected, that have the money for it. It's just one of those, and it's, you know, it's like buying a Rolex, where, you know, it's not even about it being fine craftsmanship or anything like that anymore. It's completely mass-produced. It's just, you know, status symbol kind of thing. And one of the ways I think to figure that out, what do they do? I want to see it. What does this look like? Is this something where if I engage interns, or I engage with politically motivated youth or subscribers of my channel, and we do meetup groups, and then we go to the parking lot of Walgreens or a mall, that we can get the information that we need on a regular basis, and we can reach out to the demographics that we need to on a regular basis, and you just stopped in the middle of the road, you you're kidding. You're absolutely kidding. So that's something that's going through my head right now. I'm looking forward to hearing some information on this over the next few days. There's still some time, and one of the things I'm really kind of one of the things I'm hoping is that something happens in the next week or 2 weeks or month that allows me to really kind of get solidify what it is that I'm going to be doing. Because when people ask me, okay, so what step are you at in the ballot process? My answer is, I've collected 13% of my goal. So I'm at step 1, which is figure out how to pay for it. Figure out how to pay for it. But like, then again, the story of this channel from the very beginning has been, man does something he's told he's not supposed. Come on, stay in your lane, you prick. No collision. See, the meme car didn't beep there. He was this close to hitting me, so I made a little left. But the meme car is supposed to tell you when you're close to colliding with someone, or it has these little red lines here on the screen. But I don't trust a meme car as much as I trust my eyes. Anyway, I mean, the entire story of the main channel is, Apple says that this is not possible. Lots of people in the business tell me that this is not something that's economically viable to do in America. Let me see if I can figure this out myself at my shitty little crappy office with no education. And I think that's part of what people look up to on the main channel, because it's really difficult for me to understand why my main YouTube channel has 1.56 million subscribers. It genuinely blows my mind. You know, I didn't get along with any other kid in elementary school or intermediate school or junior high school. For high school, fuck you, you cunt. It's not gonna change anything. I think they really do expect you to go like a second before the light turns green. Yeah. it's, you know, I wasn't popular in high school, though. You know, I had friends in high school, not a lot of friends. I wasn't really popular, and it doesn't jive with my brain why 1.5 million people choose to watch. But I think a big part of it is that I find these things that where there's just a status quo of how it's supposed to be.
In 500 feet,
and I figure out how to do
Barbie Street.
I figure out how to do something I'm not supposed to do, but I do it independently. Like, you know, I'm not doing what the manual tells you to do. I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm doing it in my own way. And my own way is a. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Now turn right onto Barbie Street.
Nice try, bro. It's that thing where when you put a turn signal on, what they do is they actually go faster, so they speed up. They speed up so that you're not able to turn. And I think that's why a lot of people in New York City, what they do is they don't use their turn signals when they turn. It's not because they're not thinking about the turn. They are thinking about the turn. They want to actually be able to make the turn.
Liberty Avenue.
They want to be able to actually make the turn, and if they signal their turn, if they signal their intention, then you're not going to. This is a shitty stop. Then they won't be able to turn. Stop all the way. I stop at stop signs. I'm a good boy. I'm not in a bike anymore. Stop signs are no longer yellow lights. They actually mean something. Yeah, I think the reason the main channel got popular is I took things that you weren't supposed to do, that other people said you're not supposed to do. I'm a dumb schmuck who barely got his way through high school, you know, and I just figured it out, and I showed everybody the story of figuring it out, and then I got good at it, and then I got really good at it, and then I became semi-close to best in class at it, and I shared it with everybody. I didn't just keep it to myself. You know, once I learned, I shared it. And maybe that's what I should do with this political campaign. Maybe the story of the channel, maybe the story arc, if I'm going to keep with the theme of the main channel, I'm going to stay with the theme of what made it successful, of what made it something that people look up to, is doing the same thing for a political campaign, which is someone says that it's going to cost this much money to do it and do it properly, and I just figure out how they did it and then do it myself. Now, perhaps that's foolish, thinking that you know more than people who are experts in something, and particularly when there's a chance of damage, whether it's to a customer's device, in the case of board repair, or in the case of damage to a political cause, in the case of right to repair and potentially failing at a ballot initiative. That's, you know, that could be bad. That could be foolish to do something stupid. But, at the same time, it may be the requirement if I actually want to do this. That may be what I have to do. Of all the ways to navigate me here, the car is going to navigate me through East New York. That's just great. You'd better drive yourself back to me after you get stolen and leave the car. No, really, like, why? That's... These roads are so narrow, it's so annoying. I'm starting to understand why every car in New York City is banged up. Narrow roads, people parking on both sides of the street, and people parking far away from the curb. You see, every single corner of every single car that's around you is totally fucked. And I'm starting to understand that a little bit more now. I'll likely care less about that once this car is older. But for the time being, I'd like to keep it from being totally destroyed. But it will become destroyed because it's in New York. Perhaps the story of the next year and a half will be, here's people that did a successful political campaign for millions. And we did the same thing for way less money. Here's how we did it. We were told we couldn't. We were told it was a bad idea. We did it, and we won. Or it'll go the other way, and this is kind of what I discussed in the gambling video. Like when everybody said it's ridiculous to try to do...
In 500 feet, go right on to Condit Boulevard.
When everybody said it would be a stupid idea to try to do board repair myself, when I didn't really know everything I needed to know. Oh my God, even the school bus is fucked up. I don't know, did you guys see that? The school bus looked destroyed. When I started doing board repair, I remember when somebody who worked for me looked and said, okay, so what experience do you have with electronics and soldering? And I said, I worked on audio gear from the 60s and the 70s. And he said, so what experience do you have working on surface mount components, multi-layer PCBs, any of that? And I said, none whatsoever, but I'll figure it out. And he just kind of looks and he's like,
now bear right on to Condit Boulevard.
He was an employee. Again, he was an employee. He was respectful. He didn't outright just fucking laugh at me. But man, he wanted to. He wanted to, and I understand, because it really doesn't make any sense. So what, you're just gonna fucking sit here instead of running and administering your business, trying to learn something that you have no qualification in? Are you kidding me? Really? Really? This is it? You're gonna spend all this money on all this shit and try to figure this out? And you think you're gonna be able to do better than the company that we outsource it to that's been doing this for over 15 years? You see that person? He just threw a can out of his car. That's straight up New York right there. That car probably costs more than mine. It's a BMW. Nice BMW. Takes this shit in his car, just tosses it right out. That's one of the things that gets me about New York. One of the reasons that things are as nasty as they are here is because people allow it to be. Yeah, everybody contributes a little bit. Like when I was on my bike the other day, there was this bike video I did where it'll be up on the main channel eventually when YouTube decides to process the 360 video, where someone just takes, they see that there's a garbage pail that was tossed over into the bike lane and everybody just passing by it, and nobody just thinks, let me pick this up so that someone who misses this doesn't die. Nobody cares. And it's that lack of care that is foundational to a lot of the problems in the city. Like, there are parts of the U.S. where you do that and someone says, hey, pick that shit up, man. What are you doing? It's kind of like part of the pride of the neighborhood. This is our neighborhood. We're not going to let other people shit on it. But here, even if you're from the neighborhood, you just kind of shit on it. And it's why? I see yellow. This goes back to my gambling thing that I talked about in one of the prior videos. Everything's a gamble. I could have wasted a lot of money on board repair and fucked up my business because I wasn't managing it as well as I was when I had time to fully manage it, because I was focused on circuits until 4 in the morning and trying to figure out how all this shit works together and then recording it. That was a giant gamble. And the only reason that people look up to me with that, the only reason that I am not considered a world-class moron for that is because my gamble was successful, because it worked. The difference between being seen as a genius and an inspiration or being seen as a moron, fool, piece of crap is that your coin flip was successful. And if I go for direct ballot, and if I try to do a direct ballot initiative and I don't have the money to do it properly, and I try to do it myself and I fail, and then there's no thank you, I appreciate it, but no thank you, and I fail, and then I screw up right to repair for every state in the country, I would be a villain. It'd be horrible. But if I win, then I'll be a hero. It's really just a part of the coin flip. If you YOLO'd into BlackBerry stock when it was $14, if you sold at 26, you're a hero. If you waited just a few more days and it was $9, then you're a dumbass. it's really just a coin flip. It's the coin flip. It's not like they did anything different as a company when they were worth $8 from when they were worth $26 over the past few months. It's just a YOLO. So much in life is a YOLO. So much in life is a gamble. So much of what I think causes people to look up to the character that they think I am on the YouTube channel, or to idolize me, or to think I'm a decent person, really just comes down to it. One of my YOLOs worked. One of my YOLOs worked. Others didn't, but some did.
In 500 feet, keep left to take Nassau Expressway.
Hush, meme car. I actually named it meme
Now
car.
keep left to take Nassau Expressway. Feet, keep left to stay on Nassau Expressway toward Van Wyck Expressway. Now keep left to stay on Nassau Expressway.
Is the person in front of me doing 46 and a 50? You must not be from here. Let me see what your license plate says. Is it South Carolina? It must be. You're going the speed limit, man. Yep, South Carolina. That explains it. Yeah, you're not from here. You go the speed limit. That's cute. Oh, man. Every time I see someone not driving like shit, you know that they're out of state.
Keep left to stay on Nassau Expressway toward JFK Expressway.
Oh my god, that van is fucked up. Hope you got a new one for Christmas, man.
Now keep left to stay on Nassau Expressway.
Hush, meme car. I learned my lesson from being on a bike. Anytime there is a hill of any kind, I look over it and I slow. I don't trust it.
In 1,000 feet, take exit 2S on the right onto JFK Expressway.
Well, geez.
Now take exit 2S on the right. In 1,000 feet, take the exit on the right toward Cargo Area C, long-term parking.
I will see you all next time. You give me your thoughts. What do you think? I think Jessa had a good idea.
Exit on the right toward Cargo Area C.
I think Jessa had a really good idea. Scientific method. We do a poll.
Now turn right
They
onto
do a poll.
148th Street.
We do a poll. They do a poll. We compare results. We figure out what the difference is, and this is how we're going to figure out what stuff we can kind of do ourselves and what stuff you really do need a professional firm's guidance on. So if I'm not able to make the 6 million
In 500
and I still want to do direct
turn
ballot,
left onto
that will
150th Avenue.
shut up, meme car. I know. Shoot. That'll allow us to get an idea of what we can do, what we can't do, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. I'm glad Jess is here. She's a good friend. She's a good friend and she has good ideas. And she sees through my blind spots, which I need. I'm glad I met her, I really am. I met her at the CTIA 8 years ago now. Wow. Fuck, I'm getting old. Then again, so is she. But one of the things that I learned, she and I were the only two people there that tried to find shorts with our face. So we got along very well from that, since that day. We're the only two there that try to find shorts with our face. Anyway, see y'all later.